Good morning. Let's get this show on the road. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you could make this. This is an off day for us. This was the only Saturday available for September, so we went ahead and took it. Our next meeting will be October 20th. We'll be back on the third Saturday of the month schedule, which is also going to be the same day as the Old Town Fall Festival. So we're going to have a lot of people here, and then we're going to bus you over to volunteer at our booth. I'm sure everyone's okay with that. Welcome. We've had a lot of things happen since our last meeting, and I'm very grateful to see everyone here. There's a lot of hard work going on out in the county, but before we get started, I'd like us to stand for the invocation and the pledge. Our party chaplain, Tim Oldhaver, will lead us in the invocation, followed by Rocky Gonzalez with the pledge.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you mostly for who you are. We thank you that you created us. We thank you that in spite of the fact we messed things up, you loved us anyway enough to give the ultimate sacrifice for us. Lord, we thank you that in that vein, well, humans as humans go, we continue to mess up, and you continue to fix it, as you will. And we're asking for that will right now, that with the country and the state that it's in, that you would use not only us but others, but that you would move and that you would resurrect this country, because it's certainly not the place I left in 2008. But Lord, we thank you for the opportunities, and we thank you for your grace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rocky. We do have a lot of activities going on within the county, and one of the things that I want to touch on right now is we need everyone to show up on October the 4th at the Rockdale Auditorium. That is the League of Women Voters and Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. The time is 6:30 or 6.
6:30.
6:30 until 9 or 9:30. It's going to be a long night. Especially, I need everyone to stay until the very end, because it looks like Dan Ray's race is going to be at the very tail end of that listing. The other thing I'd like to ask is that if you guys could possibly wear something red shirt, red shoes.
Could I model a red shirt right here?
That'll work. That does work. It is Republican red, not Georgia. Yeah, anyway. But wear something red if at all possible, if you have it in your wardrobe. And we want to make a presence there that just grows on is what we want to end up doing. What I'd like to do now is recognize all of our elected officials. If you could stand.
I'm sorry, one thing about that forum, no campaign t-shirts, hats, nothing at that forum.
Inside the
Correct.
auditorium.
Yes,
Okay. No stickers or any of that?
correct.
Inside the auditorium.
Can you wear your name badge?
Okay. All right, so everybody got that? So since you can't necessarily wear a campaign sticker of your favorite candidate, wear red to show your support for the party, and that'll support our candidate. If we can have all the elected officials stand up and introduce themselves.
You talking about the candidates? I'm Rudy Horn, I'm the chief magistrate.
Dan Ray, your tax commissioner, and come tonight to the steak dinner.
Tom Kirby, state representative.
Janice is here.
Denise is here somewhere.
She was somewhere.
Yeah, she might have come in.
Jeff was here.
Jeff's
And
gone,
the
Jason's
remaining candidates, if you can announce yourself.
Tom Harrison, candidate for post 1 commissioner.
Holly Bowie, candidate clerk of court.
Chris Bond, candidate for Congress.
John Douglas, and I need just one vote on November 6th, so.
You need a couple of us to go down there and vote for you, John? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know how my wife's gonna vote, so maybe I do.
I'm Joe Coggins, I'm running for coroner.
And is Denise back in? No. Okay. All right. Jason and Jeff and Lilith were here earlier. They all had other functions to go to this morning. So they're out busy trying to drum up more votes to come our way, which is exactly what we need. I'm really optimistic about how this election is turning out. Regardless of what the poll numbers say on the national campaign, we know that Romney is going to win. Along with that's going to be Paul Ryan. But the other part that we need to do is we have another candidate here going for U.S. Congress, and that's Chris Bond. Chris, would you like to say a few words about your upcoming October 15th event?
Oh, I'm sorry, my mom's just trying to figure out what all I'm doing today. It doesn't stop till about 10 o'clock tonight. October 15th, we at Smoke Rise Country Club, which is in Stone Mountain. It's extremely high-end, but they've given us a great deal. We're having a golf tournament that day. Actually working with a number of contractors associations to hopefully bring in more outside and into cab interest. But anyway, so there is a golf tournament October 15th. We have flyers for that. We'll be sending out more emails and all on that. And so I need your help, and thank you so much. And to everyone who was able to come, and many who couldn't, thank you so much for Tuesday night at Glenn's Barbecue. We had a great time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. He also has new push cards. Did you bring any with you?
I do.
Good. Be sure and get those, because as you're out in the precincts, while we have our unified push card with all of our local candidates, if you keep that in your left pocket, put Chris Bond in your right pocket. Because that's going to be the next question they're going to ask is who's running against Hank Johnson this year. And we want to tell them we've got a really good candidate that has a real good chance of winning. So, this time I would also like to have Lynn Brown say just a few words about our Victory Center.
Morning, y'all. I know we're all tired and we've got a lot more to do, but don't lose heart. There's a lot of propaganda out there, and it just goes what your mama said when you were a kid. Don't believe everything you read. Now, our Victory Center is doing wonderful. We have so much traffic in there. People are so enthused. They're so happy that we actually have a physical presence to show Rockdale County we're here. We're not going anywhere, and we're coming back. And folks, we're coming back with a vengeance. I have never seen people as enthused about an election as this one. Not only are they enthused, but they are mad. Mad about the national confusion about our finances, and mad about our local confusion. If anyone would like to volunteer at the Victory Center, if you just have a couple hours a week, that would be great. We want to start trying to have Wednesday night, late hours, up to 8 o'clock. So if some of you folks maybe who get off at work at 4 could give us a couple of hours, that would be wonderful. If Diane Davis would stand up and any of the other volunteers, I know all my volunteers kind of do double duty on everything. All these volunteers are my regulars. I have a lot more that fill in occasionally, but I wish you'd all give them a hand. And I appreciate all of y'all so much. Diane, if you would come to the front, I want everyone to look at your t-shirt.
Smile it for us.
Now, we have these t-shirts that hopefully I will have ready by Thursday. They're at black ink. And even though at the top it says Republican, down the bottom it says Stampede 2012.
Yeah. Come on, come on.
I will have some wide blue masking tape to cover up that Republican if we have to at League of Women Voters. We're going to ask a $20 donation for these shirts at the Victory Center. As soon as I get them, I will notify Don and our webmaster, Lynn Williamson, to get it out there. After I get paid for what I am out on cost, the rest of the money will be going to the Republican Party. Folks, if y'all don't have a red shirt, you gotta buy one of these. I can guarantee you it causes more conversation and it ticks more people off than you can imagine.
Now what I'm gonna do is start bringing an extra shirt with me, so that if you want this shirt, you gotta pay me more than $20.
Also, real quick, I'll give this to our webmaster so it will be put up. He has a varsity fundraiser that is sponsored by Jay Grover, Billy Corey, and Roland Vaughn on Tuesday, October the 9th from 5:30 to 7:30. Now y'all, we're all just love varsity hot dogs. Come on out and eat some of these hot dogs, okay? And we'll have this on the website, RSVP, as soon as possible. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
You got plenty of the Romney signs and bumper stickers and all that stuff now at the Victory, because I'm being asked about that, and I'm sending them up there.
We have plenty of Romney signs, bumper stickers. If someone is in a wheelchair or has a cane, they'll pull up into the little gore area right in front of it and honk the horn. We'll trot out there and bring it to them. We do curbside delivery. Thank you all so much. The location of Jeff's varsity hot dog roast is at Klondike Farm on Klondike Road. It's Billy Corey's farm, y'all.
Thank you, Lynn. So we still have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of different candidates and positions, and it seems that one of those positions doesn't get talked about too much. It's sort of a dead subject. I had to take it because otherwise she was going to say it. Please welcome Joe Coggins, our candidate for coroner.
Well, I feel silly talking to most of y'all because you see me all the time. So those of you that don't know me, my name's Joe Coggins. That's my husband Grady sitting behind Holly. I'm running for coroner. I've been a deputy coroner of Rockdale County for 14 years. Lived here over half my life in the Rockdale-Newton area since 1970. I love this town. I like my job. You know, a lot of people don't understand how you do a job with so much depression. Well, it's part of life. You live, you die, and you got to have somebody in there that cares when you die that you're treated fairly, with respect and dignity, and that's me. So, other than that, if y'all would vote for me, I appreciate it. Sorry there's no humor in this one. I'll be glad to answer any questions for anybody that has any questions. Yes, sir.
Tell us exactly what a coroner does.
No, don't.
Make sure you dissect a little.
That was generally what a coroner does.
Generally, what a coroner does is we determine manner and cause of death. We go to a scene, someone in your household or in a car wreck or anywhere dies, they call a coroner. Because a body cannot be moved, messed with, touched, or anything till a coroner is on the scene. Same as if, when I'm on the scene first, if I get there before the detectives, I can't do anything until they get there. So together we work with these. I'm in charge of the body, they're in charge of the scene, and that's how we work it. We determine, let's just say you show up at a house and there's somebody laying across the bed and they're dead. That's all you know. They're dead. So at that point in time, you have to delve into their history. You have to find out, did they have an illness that might have caused them to die during the night? You then call the medical examiner. Don't think I make these decisions on my own, because we don't. There's a medical examiner at my disposal, and I call him and we talk about what I've seen and what I've got. I give him my opinion and he determines at that time, I think we need to do an autopsy. If I think we need to do an autopsy, I'll tell him. He's okay. And because he trusts me, after 14 years, he trusts what I say when I say things. And that's basically what a coroner does. We pronounce people. Let's just say you have an elderly relative and they just pass away in the night, and you wake up the next morning and they have passed away. You still have to call a coroner, and I still have to come out there. But at that point in time, we just call a funeral home of your choice, and there's no autopsy involved. Unless somebody says you killed them, then it opens up a whole new ballgame. So that's basically what we do. A lot of people think we just go out, pronounce people dead, and go home. You can ask my husband about that. Sometimes they go on for days and weeks of calling and talking and dealing and trying to get things. And if I could give one piece of advice to anybody in the public, is if you have loved ones and they're ill and you know they're ill, make arrangements. It's easier on you and them and me in the long run to do that. Because if they have cancer and you know they're getting towards the end, go and make the arrangements for those people. It's out of respect. If not, then I gotta take them to the morgue or the hospital, and that's even worse. So, yes, ma'am.
How did you, I mean, you didn't just envision, I want to be a coroner someday. Did you come through the working in the hospitals, or what?
Yes, I did. I actually, when I was 16 years old, I wanted to work in a funeral home. I wanted to be that person that when you got to the funeral home, they helped you. They directed you to which funeral you needed to go to. They got you a glass of water, Coke, whatever you wanted. I wanted to be that person back when I was 16. It didn't work that way. I got out of school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I went to work at Newton Medical Center in the ER as a unit secretary. And I kept seeing these ambulance people come in and out, and I thought, that looks like fun, I'll try that. So I became an EMT in 1976, and then a paramedic. And I went to work at Rockdale Medical Center, and I've been working there a long time, almost 18, 20 years off and on. And I was an ambulance paramedic, and Dr. Boyle was, Steve Ellison actually was the coroner at that time, Dr. Ellison. I told him I would like to go to work for him. It interested me. I all went back to that lady that I knew that worked in the funeral home. I didn't know what I was getting into. My first case, y'all, that was the scariest thing. I went out there, me and this policeman, and I was standing there, and I looked at him and I said, I already been to school. And I looked at him and I said, have you ever done this before? And he said, no. I said, oh, we in trouble. Oh, we in trouble. But it worked out and everything was fine. So it's all happening. Yes, sir.
I found one of the most intriguing things about your job is that you actually have more powers of investigation than the police do. The coroner does not have to get a search warrant.
We actually, several years back, one of our deputies actually caught a murderer because of that. He didn't have to wait to get a search warrant. He went in and started talking to the person and rambling around, and the guy confessed to him sitting right there because he was dressed in street clothes, like he didn't really realize he didn't know, he's talking to the coroner, and that didn't mean anything to him, but that's how they caught that guy. But yeah, we do not have to have a search warrant. And I always tell people this, maybe I shouldn't, but if you die at home for unknown reasons, no, we're going through everything you've got, trying to get information on you, so keep your dresser drawers clean. Yes, sir.
A lot of people aren't aware of the coroner's responsibility should the sheriff violate the law or can't fulfill his job. Could you explain that to everybody, that what happens?
It's always been said that if we're the only people that can arrest the sheriff. That is not true, however. Much as I like to say that, and I still do say it for the heck of it because I always get a rise out of Jeff. But we are the only people that can legally serve the sheriff papers. And I think that must come back from way back in the cowboy days. But that's all we can actually do. And then somewhere I read in the Title 45 law that if something happened to Jeff, we were to step in as in his place until things could be fixed. So I don't know so much about all that, but I know we can serve the sheriff those papers. And a lot of people don't even know what a coroner is. But I always relate back in Western days, in any Western movie you watch, if you'll look, you'll see a guy in a black suit come out to get the body. That's the coroner. And it just has evolved since then. You know, I don't even know why it's a political thing for the coroner. I don't understand that, but it's okay. But that's all. If y'all vote for me, I'd appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I know you and George Levitt are friends, and
Yes,
y'all are running as clean a campaign as you possibly can.
absolutely.
But would you contrast the difference between what you do at the coroner's office and what George does at the coroner's office?
Sure. Let me look in here just a minute.
There's a camera right here, okay?
George is a good man, but George is a busy man. He runs a funeral home. He's a preacher. He does all of these trips to Haiti. And I know, anybody in here know Dr. Bull? You know Dr. Bull's out of town as much as he's in town? No, I'll take that back. He's out of town more than he's in town. Well, that's how George is going to be in the coroner's office. George has a hard time getting his paperwork done now. Can you imagine when he's in charge of the place? It just isn't gonna, it's just not gonna work. He's not, I can't say he doesn't know his job. He's just too busy to do it. And that's why I have to win to keep my job. Because I can't work for somebody that can't run the organization like it needs to be run. So that's.
How are you doing about campaign donations and signed materials?
I go to the bank, it's called Grady.
So, in other words, if someone wanted to give you a campaign donation
Absolutely.
today,
I would take any donation anybody's got. Grady and I are doing this on our own. We got kind of thrown into this political thing. I had no idea. I wouldn't. It's rough. So anyhow, yes, if anybody could do a donation, it'd be wonderful. I just can't ask for money either, you know. So, and I got signs there at the Victory Center. Put them in your yard. I got somebody gonna put a big one out in his yard. I'm excited. So I appreciate that. So that's about it. I thank y'all, and I look forward to seeing everybody the 4th. No, I don't.
And that is true. She and her husband Grady are doing this campaign on their own. But
One out here.
her position as coroner is just as important. No offense to our elected officials or our other candidates, simply because it does have a lot of power. And when you have power in any position with the wrong person, it can be abused. And that's something that this county certainly doesn't need to experience. Before I bring up our guest speaker today, David Shipp, I'd like to have Johnny Brown our Board of Elections representative have a few words with you.
Can everybody hear me? I've got some sample ballots here, and I'm gonna pass them out to you. I got 10 of them. It's got everybody that's running this year. They're 2-page ballot, but also at the top, it's got the early voting hours. Vote over Parker Road. So I think this will be some valuable information. Also, we got a few badges here, early voting badges. I'd like for some of you to take them and wear them. Denise, you get the first one. All right. So I'm gonna pass these out, y'all. There's not enough for everybody to take them with them, but pass them around, let everybody see what's on board to vote for, where our candidates are. So when you go in there, in the poll, you won't be nervous. And
Johnny, how did you get Republicans first on the ballot? That's a good job.
Well,
The legislature did that a few years ago, by the way.
well, no, I just prefer to think that Republicans should be first.
Yeah, we thought that way too, that's why we did it.
While he's passing those out, I noticed on the ballot, Johnny, that there's a place for write-ins. And there's Democrats running unopposed in this county. And I think we ought to make a statement. And I think the chairman ought to put out an email with a suggested person for each one of those areas and mount a write-in campaign for them and show our displeasure for the Ramseys and the others that are running unopposed.
How come we didn't have a candidate to run against him?
We tried, but the candidate that should have been running against him decided to go for another race, in which he lost. Okay, all right, thank you, Johnny. On that ballot, there are 2 questions that are asked of all the voters. One of them has to deal with the state agency being able to get multi-year contracts with facilities and so forth in order to put their agencies in there. Right now, they're held to a 1-year contract, which has to be renewed every year. And a multi-year contract ends up giving the state some leverage in which to go out for a bid rather than just pay the piper on whatever the landlord wants for it. So on that one, I urge everyone to vote yes for. But there is another ballot. There is another question on there. That has to deal with the charter school question that has been going through the airwaves and newspapers, people putting up arguments on both sides of that. So at this time, I'd like everyone to welcome David Shipp while he kind of gives you what the party take is going to be on that.
Camera gonna have to follow me. All right. I think I'm loud enough. Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? First of all, who's Georgia play today?
Tennessee.
We want to yell that out.
Holly, you said it first. All right. This charter school amendment is not public schools versus private schools. It's not a voucher system. Okay? How much money has the state taken away from Rockdale County over the last 5 years in our funding? Anybody know the number?
50 million.
50 million, million and a half. Too much. It's 53.7 million that they have shorted Rockdale County over the last 5 years. Okay. Thinking my other questions here. Okay. How much has Georgia taken away from all the public schools in the state of Georgia over that same time period?
10%?
Give me a figure.
5.7 billion.
I'd say 8 billion.
It's $5 billion. So Don, I'll throw it at you, but you can hear. No, I'm not gonna throw it at you.
All right, appreciate that.
Okay. Another question. Charter schools perform better than the public school system. True or false? False. Mr. Vaughn got it. Okay, charter schools, if you look at the AYP, they come in at 70% passing AYP. Public schools in the state of Georgia come in at 73%. The charter schools also scored a little bit lower, actually, in the SAT scores and that sort of stuff. I have all those figures up there. Let's see, I have one more button without taking one off of mine. And how much money does the state now say that they have to pay for this charter school amendment?
Not enough. That's what they always say.
$1 million.
$430 million over the next 5 years.
Well, I was close.
You were closest. I've seen all kinds of conspiracy theory type of things against the charter school amendment. I've seen the private school systems in favor of it, or some of the charter school systems. It all comes down to the same type of argument that we had with the T-Splosh. We're taking public money and giving it to private industry. And I don't think we should do that. The charter school amendment actually calls for the charter school kids to get more money than they would if they were going to public schools. A little over $1,000 a year more than if the same kid was going to public school. The state would give more money to those going to charter schools. I don't understand that. It creates a new board that will be paid over $1 million a year to approve charter school applications. As it currently works, we have charter schools in Rockdale County, right? We have the Magnet School for Science and Mathematics. We have the Rockdale Career Academy. We have the Open program, or the Open Campus program, which is essentially an online school. We have the, what's the one on West Avenue?
That is
Open campus.
Well, it's the open campus there. They have a lot of things in Rockdale County. I think our school board is doing a lot of the right things, and they discuss if there are other type of schools that want to be a charter school in Rockdale County. They would certainly look at it and be happy to have some of those things. We can have charter schools. This is not against charter schools per se. They have their place. The Career Academy is a great place. My kids went to some classes there. I know kids now going to classes there. You can get a certified nursing assistant thing there, which is a very costly thing if you do it on the outside of school. There's all types of things, and with the addition that they're putting over there for 911 operators and some other things, it'll make it even better for our kids in Rockdale County. It all comes down to, for me, public, our control. We elected our school board to control our funds, and I think we ought to keep that. If we do the charter school amendment, we'll be taking these public dollars, and they'll be controlled by private people. They will be able to control who gets into their charter schools and who doesn't. Let's all face it, okay? We have kids that have special needs, and the charter schools will not take those kids. They cost more money. There's no question. To have a kid with a special need in public school costs a lot more money to educate. But that's something that as a society we have to do. We are not throwing away human beings. Okay, we have to do that. We have to fund that. And if we take kids away from that system, it just puts an additional burden on the taxpayer, if you will, because those will have to be funded. And to set up a separate system in the state, when the state is not fully funding our current system. So I personally am opposed to it for all those reasons. If you go on votesmartgeorgia.com, votesmartgeorgia.com, they have a lot of statistics, they've got a lot of information. Our school board has come out in opposition. Our elected Republican state superintendent has come out in opposition. And I know this kind of divides some people in the party, because we have those in the party that are in favor of it. I don't believe that it will be in the best interest of our community in particular. People don't come to Rockdale County to say, oh, there's a good private school here. There are some great private schools here. But that's not why people would come to Rockdale County. They can live anywhere and send their kids to a private school or to a charter school. And so they come to Rockdale County from an economic standpoint because we have a good public school system. Many of us in this room came to Rockdale County because they had a good school system. So we need to maintain that. We need to keep that funded, and we need to support our elected school board, which we have supported, and vote no for the charter school amendment. Thank you. I'm not an expert, but I'll be happy to answer.
Don, I'm also in opposition to it. I wrote about it. And one of the biggest reasons that I'm in opposition to it is because this takes the power away from the local school board and gives it to another new state authority, just like T-Splosh was going to do. I'm not opposed to charter schools at all, but I'm for school choice. I think the dollars ought to follow the student, whether they go to Janice's school or whether they decide to go to the school down the street. I think that's where they ought to go. But don't usurp the authority of the local school board, because you know what happens once we give it to the state. They start implementing the world agenda and not our agenda. And that's going on more and more and more. We see the Democratic Party now is all about the world agenda and not about local power. So that's why I'm in opposition to it.
David, you might mention that we have over 100 charter schools throughout the state. I think somebody, GRE, Gregor, the retired teachers, said something about 120 charter schools, I believe. So you have plenty of evidence out there of the value of charter schools. A lot of people just say amen to it, you know, just think it's great. But I'm against, like you, I'm against this thing, because it does give the power to the legislature. You know,
A bureaucracy.
yeah, a bureaucracy. So we don't need any more of that.
That's correct. I mean, just based on, I'll get you in a minute, just based on general principles, the Republican Party stands for smaller government. That does not include the creation of new bureaucracies. So based on those principles alone, that should be evidence enough of why this move is not the right move, and we should vote no against it.
Boy, I feel like I landed in the wrong meeting this morning. Holy cow. I was on the Senate Education Committee for 2 years, and David, you said that, you know, the state is taking money away from education, that sort of thing. That's exactly what the Democrats used to tell us. That's exactly what the unions used to tell us when they come in, the GAE and the Association of School Superintendents and the PAGE, Professional Association of Georgia Educators, used to come in there and say that. Oh, you're taking money, you're taking money. The public schools are a disaster. You know, nobody moves to Rockdale County to go to school here. Nobody moves to Newton County to go to school just because the school's attractive.
They used to.
Well, they used to, yes. They used to, but they don't now. And it's that way all over Georgia. Look at the SAT and the ACT scores that just came out here recently. You know, we've got scores that are down over there. We're still below the state average. Your schools, I think, are still below the state average. in your scores, what are you gonna do? I mean, how much money is enough? I asked the union folks in committee one day, they were lamenting and whining and gnashing teeth about not having enough money for schools. So I finally asked them, I said, how much do you need to make our schools #1 in the country? And the crickets were all over, you know, because that was the answer I got. Because there is no amount of money that would satisfy them. Because they always got to have more, because money is power, so they got to have more and more and more. So for us, holy smokes, for us as Republicans to sit here and say, we need to throw more money at a failed project, to me is just crazy. I'm surprised, because you guys are very strong conservatives, and we're all good friends, but gosh, I feel like I'm, you know, like I said, landed in the wrong.
John, I think it's because the power moving from local authority to the state, and the state isn't gonna manage it better than the local board.
How well has the
We
local
can,
board managed?
well, we just voted for a whole new board in Rockdale County.
Have you got, you know, are you optimistic that you're gonna have the best schools in Georgia with this new board?
I'm optimistic that within their power, they're going to do the most conservative job that they can do, better than the legislature's gonna do.
Well, I hope they do. I hope they do.
I think the question that should be on the ballot, because John's point is correct. The public school systems in general have a hard time of being a successful enterprise simply because of the way that they are structured and the way that the federal government still pulls their string telling them what they're gonna learn. So, you know, the question here as far as this charter school amendment, the reasons, the basic outline reasons that many of us are against it is simply because you are, just like the T-Splosh, it is pulling away the local control that our, and this is different for Fulton County where they did have a problem. Rockdale County doesn't have that problem. Rockdale County has charter schools that are funded and operate fully within the system the way it should be. So it may be on a county by county basis, but as far as that goes, this county has a working system. And maybe down the road, what we really should be asking for is a school system for all of our kids that actually does what it's supposed to do.
Well, you know, if public schools work, there wouldn't be a market for Peachtree Academy. You know,
Well,
and that's exactly why she's in business.
Well, I just want to say one thing, and you know, John and I are great friends, and I
I'm still
respect.
gonna have my clothes done at your place.
That's right, and I respect your opinion, and that's the reason why I didn't come out and lambaste the other side on this. The problem with the public schools has nothing to do with funding.
That's right.
It has everything to do with the one element that in our whole country, people have continued to miss, and that is personal responsibility. As a parent, when I am involved with my child's education, my child will be educated well, whether it's in private school, public school, charter school, wherever, because I'll make sure that it happens. And that's what we're missing. Society as a whole, and it doesn't matter, you know, whether it's raising your kids, whether it's making sure that they're disciplined properly and Jeff doesn't have to do it, or whether whatever we do, it's personal responsibility. And parents in this county who are involved with their kids get a wonderful education. Parents who are not get the dregs. And I think that a lot of times the reason why private school education becomes so well is because the parents have skin in the game and they're involved and they'll make sure that their kids are educated properly.
And you have no control over the parents. That's the element that you don't have any control over.
So how does more money fix that?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
But
We're already paying 4.5 mils over the state max.
Yeah, you wanted 29 mills in Rockdale County?
The question is, why wasn't the ballot question about school choice instead of charter schools?
Why wasn't the ballot question about putting your millage back down to the state mandated
Hey,
I
man.
agree with that too.
of 20 mils. You know, that's what it should have been, and then you could have gone from there.
Almost
But-
4 years ago, we started making a difference in how this county was run, because we started showing up. Sam, a bunch of folks started showing up at the commissioners' races, and we have really well-qualified people running for those positions now. I say, we can do the same thing when the the school board meets. We show up in droves at those meetings, and we will see a change in the way the school board does things. Let's go see them. Let's go to their house and watch what they do when they're in session.
We record every single school board meeting now for the last year and a half, and Sam's been going. That's how we got these new people elected. They started going to the meetings and getting informed, and that is key. Everybody's got to be informed what's going on. They spend more tax dollars than the county commissioners do.
About 2 to 1.
But going there and sitting in their session makes a difference when they have to look at us and see us. I think
Correct.
that's what you do.
What we did is, we simply got 3 new people elected: Mandy North, Sharon Farr, and Tony Dowdy.
And one 2 years ago.
And one 2 years ago, Brad Smith.
No.
Jim McBrayer.
Jim
Or
McBrayer.
Jim McBrayer, sorry. That's the majority on that 7-member board come January.
Are any of them here today?
They're,
Got elected and didn't show up.
Tony's not here. Well,
Tony's
usually
been
shows
coming
up.
to the meetings.
Don, let me say one thing. I think David has a very valid point, and the reason he's voting no is because it does add another layer of government to this, which, as conservatives, is wrong. But I have to side with John in that how much money you're gonna throw it. I know just about everybody in this room knows about the discussions I've had with the school board over the last year over the 24.5 mil. And of course, they can say, well, we'll just go add another 5.5 mils to it and be done with it. So where do you stop the bleeding? But I think David is right, vote no for this amendment, by all means.
Yeah, you have to stop the bleed when you get, when you start removing some of that unnecessary administrative
Yes.
positions and our new superintendent begins to do a job like running it as a business the way it needs to.
Don,
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I don't want anybody in this room to be misled that Rockdale County just has charter schools. If I, as a private school, went and asked to be a charter school in Rockdale County, I could almost certainly tell you they'd say no. They want to keep it all under their control, so I don't want you to think that it's just parents want a charter school and it's gonna happen. Charter schools approved by the state are typically schools that were not approved at the local level. And even though I'm not voting for this amendment, which surprises a lot of people, the only reason I'm not voting for it is because it does give the state a creation of a new agency, which is more dollars out of the classroom. So please know that while we do have charter schools, they're always under the school board's control and not necessarily outside agencies coming in like many of the charter schools throughout the state.
Janice, is there an appeals process for you if you don't get satisfaction at the local board?
No,
Supposedly there is, if
previously
you're
you
denied,
could have gone
yes.
to the state level, so
Right.
at the local level, they said, no, you could just go to the state level and get approved. And that's where a lot of this amendment comes from, is because there's so much frustration in the state with the local school boards who don't, who aren't open-minded. And there is, many of you may know, there's a new movie coming out called Won't Back Down. I would encourage you to certainly look at that. Is one method of evaluating the situation too. Thanks.
Excuse me, guys, I've had my hand raised for a while.
Yes, you can.
As one who has been in public education, as one who has taught in the classroom, in Title I, I will tell you there is it's not money, it's regulation. You got it, basically they force people to teach to the test, and they measure success by those tests. Now, a lot of people don't test well, and a lot of the regulations are, how should I put it, they cause an inferior product. They dumb down to where somebody who knows nothing can walk in and grade someone who is well educated in the subject. It doesn't work. The biggest problem we've got in government right now is overregulation and people turning the regulations against the people. That's exactly what's happening in the schools. Well, it's not just unions, because we're a non-union state here in Georgia. But it is overregulation by whatever means, and we've got to turn it around to where it's under the power of the people, and that to me is what the Republican Party's about.
The other thing that you have to admit, now, I was in the business for about 30 years, I use that term loosely. Somebody brought a pistol into the class, into the school. I said, put it in my desk drawer, you may get it back, bring your parents, that's 3 days. Boom. That was the end of it. Today, we're paying for a policeman or two to be in our schools. Now, there's a change here of clientele. And we have to keep that in mind, that you have people in your schools, they'll say to a person coming into school as a guest, I'll cut you, man. Wait a minute. I didn't have anything like that. I've had kids tell me, well, in Roosevelt High School in New York, we used to throw them out the window. You know, that kid went to get a college degree when he was finished, but
After you threw him out the window?
yeah. I told him that,
You just said
you know,
one story.
we're not gonna tolerate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the things Clinton brings up, is a good point. And really, that is at the heart of where many of the problems of this county, this state, and the country comes from, is the fact that the morals have degraded. There is no morality anymore. If you had to be at Chris Vaughn's fundraiser on Tuesday night, you heard Congressman Paul Brown talk about the 6 pillars. And that 6th pillar that supported the Star of Liberty was the morality of the people itself and their foundings in Christian principles. That is where the problems have come from. That's also just one more example why the Democrats had such a hard time putting God back into their platform. It is the exact same thing that that is going on through much of the population right now, is the morality and the belief in our Christian Judeo principles is non-existent. Their belief is being moved by purpose to treat Mother Earth as their God. Then this is all, it has a lot to do with the environmental movement, Agenda 21. There are many factors that, and it all just trickles down. So if one group of people is over here actually believing that, then they're just going to affect everyone else around them. So being that John does have valid points, and as anybody does in here, we appreciate both sides of that argument.
Don, one more question back here.
Okay.
Well, I just want to make a statement. Yes, our main, in this country, I think our main goal is to keep local control over education. And we also need to put pressure on our state senators and representatives to also fight the federal government over what they try to push down. So, and we also need to call our congressmen and senators and to press a fight against the bureaucracy from the federal government, and to do away with the Department of Education.
Here, here.
Yes.
If we want local control and local say, we have to fight on the state and the federal level as well.
Why don't we refuse the $4 million we get from the feds and then spend $3 million to implicate it? It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, implement
One
it.
more, and then
I'm implicating them.
State rep over here, your state rep, Don.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I agree. If we're gonna have a serious education discussion, it starts with abolishing the Department of Education in Washington.
Amen.
There's no doubt about that. I'm just a vote, just one more vote in this, but just share a little bit of information. Number one, in the enabling legislation, you know, it does require that any charter go to the local school board first. This is only if a charter is turned down. Number two, you're right, QBE funding has not been funded at 100%. This isn't gonna change it. Now, and he mentioned he didn't know why the funding difference per student from the state, because the Charter Commission, if this were to be passed, has zero impact on local dollars. None. They do not touch the county dollars at all. Those are controlled 100% by the school board. 100%, nothing out of the state. So what the state said is, county's not gonna fund a charter school if this were to be approved. Therefore, the brick and mortar charter school gets a certain amount. A virtual charter school also gets a different amount, less amount, because they don't have the same cost. It is more than what they'll fund the traditional public schools, that they're gonna fund these public charter schools. And again, these are public schools hiring public school teachers. They're just run under a charter as opposed to a local school board. So one of the things that Governor Deals made very clear to us, and Speaker Ralston has reinforced, this is not going to change QB funding one dime. In short, if we've got to go get money because this passes, we're going to have to pull it out of ag or transportation or all these other departments, not change the amount. Now the theory is, you know, if you can go scrape the barrels to get more money, you can put it into QBE today.
What is QBE?
Quality Basic Education Funding Formula. That's how it works. And the senator was down there when that was put in, so he can explain it really good.
Yeah, buddy, I'll explain it to you. If you got about an hour.
It is not a simple thing.
No.
It just sounds like more money, more money, more
So,
money.
so there's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different dynamics. If you agree, and I don't have an argument with you at all, if it's another layer of bureaucracy you don't want, that's fine. It's not gonna change the funding, and I don't think there's anything more local than the parents being able to have a little more choice and competition on where they put their kids. So, but I know we're running late on time. If you got any questions, I think the biggest thing I can do and what I've been trying to do is just make sure people have accurate information on what's going on. I'm not gonna try to tell you which way I think you should vote at all, so, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, good discussion, on both sides, and so you guys make your decision on that. My personal opinion is I'm voting no, simply based on additional bureaucracies that's basically the same argument why I was against T-Splosh. But given everybody has different opinions, have at it. Anyway, we do need to move on. Dan Ray's, they can still RSVP for that, is that correct? Dan?
Yeah, just let me know.
Okay, but let him know now, so they can prepare for that. Fundraiser starts at 5:30 to 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. At, you wanna give the address out?
It's Kathy Sims' house. It's on Highway 138, headed towards Stockbridge. And as you go out towards Stockbridge, you cross East Fairview Road, 7/10 of a mile on the right. You won't miss it. My truck's parked out there with my sign. You'll see plenty of Dan Ray signs. You should not be able to miss it at all. But it's on 138 south, like you headed towards Stockbridge.
It's 3811.
3811. Okay.
Yeah, tickets are $25 a piece.
Minimum.
Yeah, I'm sorry, minimum. There is no maximum level.
2,500.
Oh, 2,500, there you go. Rudy and the other candidates have information over here on this back counter with stickers and so forth. When you're out in your precincts, take 2 or 3.
Tom's got books with everybody's adding it to.
Yeah, the About Kind just hit this weekend, and all our ads are in there.
Okay, in the About Conyers magazine. But when you're out in the precincts working, and I'm gonna talk about the one that we're doing today, wear your favorite candidate's sticker or button, and take one of these push cards. Again, make sure you have our unified push card in your left pocket, and a Chris Bond push card in your right pocket. And the big thing that you tell everybody is that we're going out and we try to get people to vote early. When people vote early, now they have skin in the game. They want to make sure that their vote's going to count, but they're going to encourage their neighbors to do the same. And that's how that works. By voting early, you end up getting more population and more people talking to others, telling them to go out and vote. So today, what we're doing is the Barksdale Deer Run Precinct. We're meeting up at 11:30 at Eleanor Toppin's house. She has offered that up as the meeting place. We have 2 or 3 or 4 of the campaigns that have sent volunteers down there or will be. We have a few college Republicans down there. We should have, if everything goes right, 20 to 25 people to go out and hit Deer Run, golf carts, and of course, David Cooper is getting the bus ready, which is one of the tailgating trailers that they used to use over for the Falcons game, which will be wearing this Romney Ryan sign on it. But that address is 5256 West Shore Drive. If you were at the Steve Davis fundraiser on before the primary, from the pool where we all met, that's East Shore Drive. You simply follow it around. It's on the opposite side of the lake. And anybody that can come out and help today, we're going to take the entire Deer Run on, and we're going to finish in about 2 to 2.5 hours. So that's the goal for today. I do have one final thing. Catherine Edwards, can you stand up? Catherine is heading up our pole wash training once more. She's going to have 2 pole wash training classes on the 15th and on the 29th. Those are both Mondays at 7.
6:30 or 7, somewhere.
At our Victory Center. If you are interested, and we encourage anyone that can be off that day on November 6th to poll watch for your precinct or some other precinct, so we can make sure that no funny business actually goes on, because we've seen it. And when we call attention to it, it gets stopped. When it gets stopped, an unlawful vote may not be cast. That's the whole purpose of it. So she has a sign-up sheet. If you have volunteered before in the past for poll watch training or poll watch, please sign up again so we have a fresh list so she can work from. You can add mine and Lynn's name to that, Catherine.
Oh, I'm volunteered again.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
The other thing, so please do that. That is coming up. Jeff's thing on October 9th has already been mentioned. There is, let's see. Is there any other events going on? Okay. Our election returns party is going to be at the Whistle Post Tavern again. We've secured that with Linda Moulton over there. We've given up the Whistle Post for us to use at our disposal. We will be setting up over there on the night of to get everything done. And I think the last thing I need to announce is Angie is still having problems.
She's going for more tests on Monday. She had all kinds of tests for her heart. She was in the hospital for 2 days and they cleared that. And so she's having a nuclear test for digestive and all that. She's still in a lot of pain, so trying to figure out what's going wrong with her.
If you all can be sure to offer your prayers up for Angie's recovery, it is needed at this time.
And also, she asked me to say, but Jeff's thing is the same night, that Chick-fil-A is donating all the profits to, on October 9th between 5 and I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock that night. If you go eat at Chick-fil-A, everybody that walks through the door, they're donating to Phoenix Pass, all the profits from that 3 hours.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything else?
Next weekend, we'll be having a big precinct walk in Honey Creek in Salem. John Bowers is going to be heading that up. If any of you would like to participate in that or know anyone who would like to participate in that, just sign up at the Victory Center this week,
Right.
or just get in contact with me.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Good meeting. We got a lot of work to do, so let's get out there and get it done. Thank y'all, meeting adjourned.